So yesterday I made a video about white celebrities who come from slave-owning families. But in response, a bunch of people commented that I shouldn't punish these celebrities for something that their ancestors did that they had no control over. And to that I say, how do you define punishment and who is calling for them to be punished? Now I can't remember where it comes from, but there's a quote that basically says, when injustice becomes so normalized, any resistance to it can feel like injustice in itself. And this is kind of related to the imagery of a spoiled child who usually gets whatever they ask for, but the first time they don't get what they want, they throw a tantrum because they feel like they're being wronged or punished. For the past few centuries, black people, more often than not, have been forced to keep quiet about the devastation that European empires brought around the world through colonization and slavery. And right now, the biggest taboo seems to be discussing the ongoing beneficiaries of those historical injustices in the modern day. And yes, we can also think critically and realize that these people didn't choose the families they were born into. But on one hand, as black descendants of slavery, we are constantly confronted with the generational traumas from what European imperialism did to our families. To this day, we are stereotyped based on the racist tropes that started during slavery. We are cut off from familial ties because of the slave trade and the buying and selling of our people. And relevant to this discussion, we face some of the largest racial wealth gaps because of our inability to acquire generational assets and participate in our country's economies for centuries. But on the other hand, when it comes to discussing people who financially and socially benefited through generations after slavery, talking about that history and even floating the idea that they could use their inheritance to advance racial equity is punishment? I'm sorry, but compiling publicly available data about the families that took part in the institution of slavery and the descendants who benefited from that oppression might not be common in our hush-hush society, but it's definitely not punishment. Starting a discussion on how those families might go about sharing the wealth that they acquired through human rights abuses is not punishment. Many people have a very uninformed and warped perspective on what reparations might look like and how they work because of conservative talking points. But there's a lot of precedent for it, even for injustices that happened to previous generations. And it's not the exaggerated public crucifixion that some of you make it out to be. But out of all the options we have to reckon with the transatlantic slave trade and the modern society built off of it, the last one that I will consider will be to shut up and pretend no one benefits from it today. If that's what you call punishment, that's on you. Follow for more.